Hey, I have a question. What's your favorite didn't need to fight experience? Today's sponsor is Echoes of Deceit, a Dungeons & Dragons horror story inspired by John Carpenter's The Thing. Can the crew of the Elmendar root out the threat before it's too late? Come see for yourself, link in the description below. My party, consisting of myself as a half-drow cleric and 2 others, a sorcerer and barbarian, ran into a bunch of orcs in the forest, running straight at us. Instead of attacking, our barbarian simply asked what they were doing. We found out they were running from a big, nasty undead, and we opted to go with the enemy of my enemy. Rather than fight the orcs, they joined us to fight the undead, and then we parted ways peacefully. That undead would have trounced us. We slew a dragon, but it was a difficult fight. It was an ancient dragon that took advantage of the terrain and had spellcasting, but we finally won and killed the beast in its lair. We decided to long rest under a tiny hut we placed over the dragon horde. Some dwarves who knew we were going to fight the dragon showed up in numbers, demanding the treasure. With most of the party in bad shape, my evil paladin stepped out. They said she looked injured, and she pointed out that she had been injured worse in the Blood War, and still stands. But her companions, who were hidden by the tiny hut, were faring far better than she was because, well, she does her job as a knight properly. She let them know she'd killed thousands before and would kill thousands more, that it made little difference to her if their corpses were added to her count or not, but she'd be happy to claim their souls for hell. Now, thankfully, a good decision and a good bardic die with a good roll netted me a 30, and the dwarves decided, well, it wasn't worth dying that day. Which was good because we wouldn't have won. My party had recently escaped the drow prison at the start of Out of the Abyss, and had defeated a drow patrol. We had practically just turned a corner when my warlock heard heavy footsteps nearby. I started shouting that I was glad there wasn't something trying to sneak up on us, since we just finished murdering some drow and were feeling particularly merciless. I added that if we faced anything, it would go particularly poorly for them. Following my intimidation roll, the footsteps receded further into the darkness. My party killed some wyverns to take their eggs because they heard of a noble who was paying a fortune to anyone who brought them 1 egg. On the way to the noble's mansion, they were followed by a young green dragon who smelled the egg and wanted to devour it. The dragon stalked them until night and constantly disturbed their sleep to interrupt their rest, and then left. After a few times doing this, he established a conversation with the party from the shadows, telling them that they were in his hunting grounds and he needed some payment, or else they would be the payment. So he asked for the wyvern egg. But my party was smarter. Earlier, the wizard passed a nature check and knew that dragons love to eat wyvern eggs, and that this was probably why it was following them. So the wizard, who is also a cook, used some spices to hide the smell of the egg. Then, as the party was talking to the dragon, the fighter lied and told them they had already eaten the egg. I rolled a deception check, which the divination wizard turned into a 1. The dragon believed them because he couldn't smell the egg. But he still wanted some kind of payment. Green dragons, on this hand, love political power and value famous and powerful people and statues of humanoids over gold. So, the battlesmith with a humanoid steel defender told him it was an animated statue of a famous person from another country. The dragon also believed this lie and just took the defender and left. During the next long rest, the artificer simply made a new defender, and the one the dragon had simply disappeared. I have one group of friends that does this every single time, and it's great. We wanted to get back into D&D, so for our first session, I ran a little local robbery mystery. Turns out it was kobolds, and they went to their lair, which was an abandoned mine. But rather than confronting them, they took a kobold standing watch captive, and then took some of the stolen goods back, including a group of chickens. They got chased while holding the chickens to the entrance of the mine. They took some damage on the way and were demanded by the kobold leader to give back the goods and the captive. The in-character socially inept monk then proposed that the kobolds instead trade what they mine for the goods. My response, half in character, half out, was, I wasn't expecting you to be so reasonable. My DM was planning to use a large group of rats to attack our base. So I asked what natural components were close at hand for us to use. He started naming off weapons, and I said, no. I mean chemical components, natural plants and the like. Our sorcerer had nightshade, our druid had hemlock, and growing around us was an oak forest. So I made rat poison and rolled a nat 20 to see if it would work. The DM rolled a nat 1 on his rat survival, and the party just walked away. Party walks into a bar. This can never end well. The bard starts playing for his supper. The wizard is knocking back drinks with the barbarian, and the rogue starts picking pockets. He gets noticed almost immediately, and it looks like a bar fight is about to erupt. So my paladin shoots off his channeled divinity, conquering presence. The bar empties as nearly everyone legs it for the door or jumps out the window. The remaining two guys skulk away with their tails between their legs after the barbarian stands up. Our group was level 2, and we had just recovered a secret siege weapon we were trying to wheel into town under the cover of night. The guards, who were the villain's minions, stopped us and brought the villain to talk to us. Well, the conversation kinda went south, and the villain demanded we hand over the siege weapon and surrender so they could arrest us. So there's my character sitting in a siege weapon outside of town with the villain standing right in front of him, and I just say, I shoot! And everyone flipped out. The siege weapon did some damage to the villain, but she ultimately escaped with her guards, who turned out to be mega elite warriors, curb stomped us and arrested us anyway. Restin' pepperonis. We were playing The Lost Mines of Phandelver, a fan favorite, and were sent to root out a dragon-worshipping cult from a village they had taken over. We got attacked by the dragon Venomfang before meeting the cultists, and through a combination of some exceptionally lucky rolls, clever tactics, and a number of major tactical errors on the part of the DM, one of which was to have the dragon fight to the bitter end when he really should have just flown away once it started looking bad because, well, the DM wanted to see what would happen. So we killed it, by the skin of our teeth. Then we knocked on the cultist door totally covered in dragon blood, and the sorcerer basically told them, We have killed your god. You could seek revenge on us, but I console you against it. Surely, if he was powerful enough to be worthy of your worship, you would be destroyed by those who defeated him. And if he was not, well, I think you owe us a debt of gratitude, not vengeance. Go and find another lord somewhere far from here. We will not stop you. They left with their tails between their legs. We were about to have to fight a spectator, which, while it wasn't the big bad, meant a possible TPK due to our level and resources. It was under contract to guard the place we were in for 100 years. Well, it had been about, 400 years. My poor druid, with a 10 charisma, told it what year it was and showed it a dated letter. The spectator just pulled chocks and left. Me, Oath of Vengeance Paladin. Bandit ambush on the road. First turn, I get up in their face and try to intimidate them to back down. Say I'm overly opening my eyes and slamming my hammer into my shield and say, I'm willing to die just to make you bleed. I will crush your heads into a pulp. Can you say the same? Rolled decently on intimidation check and got advantage because DM felt it would be pretty harrowing for a wide-eyed, disheveled dude to scream that in your face. Bandits decide, well, it's not worth it and scatter. True to my oath, I said I'd hunt them down and murder them if I caught them robbing people again. It felt great. Everyone gets one chance to repent, Otherwise, I will execute justice with my warhammer named Justice. Playing Curse of Strahd ended up in a place where we were going to be overseeing the interrogation of children. Oh, how fun, with the twist being that we had befriended the children earlier. My Paladin cast heroism on the kids and rolled deception high enough to make the interrogator think it was Zone of Truth. First time playing a ranger with a folk hero background. Party was going through a swamp and we got ambushed by a hydra. My ranger valiantly held his ground and got the hydra's attention as a proper hero should, just to give the others time to escape. It killed and ate my ranger immediately, and I rolled a new character. Didn't need to fight, should have ran, but you did God's work. Had a lawful good fighter, abjuration wizard, celestial warlock, ended up basically playing like a paladin with way more complicated setup, who would frequently cast Armor of Agathis on themselves, grapple an intelligent enemy, and hold them against the wall until they surrendered. At one point, Adamantine Plate, Abjur's Ward, the amulet that makes you immune to poison, Heavy Armor Master, Blade Ward, and the enlarged spell let him do this to a wyvern. I only had one if I remember right. Dryads were having problem with a bear. They asked us for help. We noticed the bear was only there because its paw was hurt. Thus, it was gonna die if it stayed in the forest fighting the other bears for food. So, in order to appease the bear and explain what we were going to do, my PC struck his own hand with a caltrip. It bled, and then he wrapped it in some cloth. Then, he pointed to the bear's paw to indicate we wanted to treat it just as he treated his hand. Advantage on animal handling, then natural 20. The bear felt so great after washing and wrapping the paw that he went back into the forest with no questions asked. There were a bunch of monsters, probably vampire spawn ? That had been imprisoned in crates in a room. We heard them scratching to get out, and it was obviously only a matter of time until they did so. My cleric cast Spirit Guardians while standing in the center of the room. Even if they'd managed to break out in only a turn or two, they'd have all been heavily injured by that time. That wasn't particularly thrilling, but dang was it effective. Hey everybody, Brian Von VA checking in after the vid. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, ring that bell, and let us know in the comments below. What's your favorite moment where you didn't need to fight that just kind of gave you a great experience? We love you all, and if you'd like to support the channel more, you can join our membership program. You don't have to, but it would be a great boon to us. You get early access to vids, maybe some other goodies later. But until then, please, for me, just take care of yourselves and everyone you love. We'll see you next time. Toodaloo.